Hello everyone. Today we are going to be talking about a Lambda layer. So more like how to use a Lambda layer to act as a dependency for your Lambda function. So far we've been creating Lambda functions, and those Lambda functions have been self-contained basically. So you create the function and then have your node packages in there, including your code and the runtime and stuff like that. So if you have two dependencies, if you have two Lambda functions, that means you would have certain parts that are replicating. You'd have two. So you're using the same library. So you're using something like AWS SDK. So that means if two Lambda functions are using the same library, but you are trying to create it in a self-contained way, that means you're going to do that twice. That's space. The SDK for AWS, especially V2, since it's not modular, is very big. So the solution for this is to use a Lambda layer as a dependency for a Lambda function. So why would you want to do this? Also, a Lambda layer is a zip file archive that contains supplementary code or data. Layers usually contain libraries, custom runtime, and configuration file. So that's the official definition. So the reason you would need this is to reduce the size of your deployment. Say for example you do not use CI/CD for your Lambda function, and you have this SDK. It's a very big file, and every time you want to make changes, you have to upload it. When you use Lambda layer as a dependency, you sort of reduce the file upload that you have to do to your Lambda function. Also, separate core function logic from dependencies. That's also the same thing. This allows you to modify your code within the AWS window instead of doing it from your IDE and then uploading it. Maybe you just want to do a minor change. Also, to share dependencies across multiple functions the same way. So you'd have something like this. So you have your Lambda function, and you'd share the Lambda layer with the dependencies that it has. And I think I mentioned this when I was talking about this. So the file size that you upload to Lambda is limited. It doesn't matter if you are uploading it from S3 or the zip file. When it gets to a certain size, the Lambda editor sort of blocks you from it. You can't really do anything. So if you want to do changes, minor changes, you have to re-upload the zip. So if you look at that, the file is like maybe 30 MB. You have to upload 30 MB every time you want to make a change. It doesn't matter if it's a font. So yeah. So basically, when your zip file is too big, it looks like this. The examples that we've done so far, it opens this up. It opens the code for you so you can edit it. But when the zip file gets too big, you do not have this ability anymore. It tells you the deployment package of your Lambda function triggered transcoder. This was the Lambda function is too large to enable inline coding editing. However, you can still invoke the function. So while it hides it from you like this, you can still use it. So now it's just in your head, like, I remember there was something, I remember there was something. So you have to keep this in mind, or check inside your ID just to keep up with what was there, what you can't see anymore. So our trusted example again, we are going to use this to demonstrate what happens. So we are going to zip this up the same way we've been doing, and if we go into Lambda, this is a newly created Lambda. I'm sure you're very good at it now. So if you go, what has happened? If you go and upload the zip, as you can see, the size, it's very small, and the code is here. These are the dependencies. So you can run it to test. I'm sure it's working fine. So to demonstrate to you what happens, so we find a heavy SDK. So this is the AWS SDK for JavaScript. So we can copy this and paste it in here, install. So if we go back to the, as you can see, the size of this is like 7.4 KB, and we can try to create another zip file so you can see the size difference. See, it's like 100 something, 15 MB when compressed. So when we try to upload this to AWS, as you can see, for files larger than 10 MB, consider uploading using Amazon S3. At this point, it's already too late. I think it's already big. It will not allow you to edit it within the window that it provides you. So as you can see, it's the same code, but because of its file size, it's now telling us that it's too big. It will not allow us to modify it inside the window. But this code is still functional. If we create a Lambda functional URL, the same way we did for the other tutorials, and trigger it, you will see that the code works. It's functional, it works right, but you just don't have the ability to see it in here, edit it in here. You can't do that anymore. So if you wanted to make a change, you would make a change here and then upload it, and however size that is, you upload, like maybe you have other libraries in there, and then the size gets to something like 40 MB. So every time you want to do a modification, it has to be 40 MB that you are uploading, no matter what size of the change that is. You know that would get like very trying in time. So the solution for this is to use a Lambda layer. The Lambda layer will act as a dependency for this Lambda function. So for setup, in this case, for something like Node.js, so you can look at this scenario as something for Node.js. For other libraries, maybe you can put in the description. I can show you how to do it. But this example is for Node.js, and For Python users, there is Bottle3. You can use that. It works in the console itself. You do not need to install dependencies whatsoever. But that also comes with its own problems, so that's what you have to be aware of. So we are going to start in the code. So this is for Node.js. I did mention that, let's not forget it. When you go in here in the file directory, you can do it in your editor, it's fine. You have to create a folder. The folder for Node.js, you have to name it Node.js. Okay, I'm naming it Node.js specifically because a Lambda function looks for something in its Lambda layer with the name Node.js, and then that's like root, and it goes inside and looks for any dependencies that it might need from it. So yes, you have to name your root folder Node.js, and then you have to copy this dependencies folder and paste it inside the Node.js folder. So as you can see, we have the Node.js as the root inside the Node modules, and its library is down there. And you have to zip this Node.js folder. So you would compress it, it would be node.js.zip. The idea is when it goes back there, it will be Node.js and Node modules down under it. So when we go to our Lambda function, we'll go into the sidebar and look for Lambda layer, for layers. These are other layers that I created, but you are going to create one from scratch. So you give it a name, node dependency, that, and here we will choose to use the zip because we already created the zip. And compatible architecture, if you remember, it's x86 64, and the runtime is Node.js 20. And we are going to upload the folder, and this is the Node.js folder. And once you give it a name and your zip file and architecture and compatible Node.js, you can write whatever you want here. This is an example. We'll need to input that. It takes a little bit of time to do its job, but we have to wait. Also, we can now just delete this in the folder directory. We don't need it anymore. I think these two other files. So what we do next is very understandable. There's no confusion. So it is done with creating the Lambda layer. You can go, this is our Lambda function, and to add your layer, you will click on this. It will just scroll you down here to the layers. So as you can see, this is your source code, your code properties, your runtime stuff, and this is where you insert your layer. So you go add layer and select custom. Also, AWS comes with their own like Lambda layers. So if you are using like Power Tools and Lambda secret stuff, if you want to extend, you can use this. If you want, you can learn how to use them. But we are using our custom one that we just created. and we'll choose, I believe it's node depend, what's this name anyway. So we are going to create our environment and then add it to the Lambda function. So now our Lambda function is connected to our Lambda layer, and now we have to upload our code again. The difference now is that we'll skip this node module. So you select everything and remove this and remove this. So now we are just pasting the code and the package JSON and the JSON log files. We'll zip that and we'll go back to Lambda and upload it. As you can see, it's like 7 KB because we have skipped the dependencies. Very small file. It doesn't it don't even take time to upload. So as you can see, we have our same old code, and these are the files that we had in our zip folder, and I believe we already created a functional URL. So our Lambda layer is connected. Now we can just call the function and you can see it running. When you check in the code base, there's no node modules in here. You see? So to prove that the Lambda layer works, we'll try to unhook it from our Lambda function. You see there's no layer here, and if we call the functional URL, you see there's an error. So basically now you can have all the dependencies that you want in that Lambda layer, and if you have, say, more Lambda functions, you can just add that layer that you want in here, and then you can leave your code like this. You can even write your code in here and add as many dependencies as you want and just upload it to the Lambda layer. So to put it back, add custom and choose this and the environment and add it. And if you call it, it works. I hope you guys liked the video, and like, subscribe, comment if you need any clarifications on what I've done. Let me know. Also, if you want a different example from Node.js, something like a particular library, not like the whole like repository for Node.js, something like FFmpg, which is like a special library. It does not work inside a Lambda. So there are a lot of these kinds of libraries that refuse to work inside a Lambda function. If you want a video on one of those, I can do it. You just have to let me know if you're interested in that. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. Bye.